My role, being from California, was to talk about how states fit into regulating toxic substances. And there's two programs I'd like to talk about. The first, we talked about the Toxic Substance Control Act, is the California Green Chemistry Initiative, also known as our Safer Consumer Product Regulations. And then another statute, which I'll just see by show of hands, Prop 65. How many of you have heard of Prop 65? So Prop 65 is not per se a chemical substance content regulation, and yet it has tremendous impacts on the concentrations of chemicals. So let's first talk about California's Green Chemistry Initiative. So I want to take you back to the time when TSCA was in paralysis and states were rising up. And again, a lot of environmental law comes from a disaster. And these disasters sort of kept happening. The Mattel toy recall, when contaminants ended up in the paint for various children's products, leading to a large recall, congressional hearings, and a bevy of state regulations in order to control everything from heavy metals in electronic products to flame retardants in baby mats to BPA, any of a number of substances. And so California had this idea, and it was called the Green Chemistry Initiative. The Green Chemistry Initiative was the brainchild of a couple of California legislators, one of whom was a former Morrison and Foerster colleague of mine, who thought about, is there a way for this state to implement, again with the sixth largest economy in the country, a more comprehensive way to get consumer products to be safer? And the idea came about from some influential writing that was produced on green chemistry. And the idea of green chemistry relates a little bit to NEPA. How many of you are familiar with the National Environmental Policy Act? So NEPA, right? It's 1970, and we formed the Council of Environmental Quality, and Richard Nixon passes a law which was meant to bring environmental issues to the attention of agency decision makers before they would authorize major federal action. And so the way that that was going to be done was a process. And what the process entailed was an environmental impact statement had to be prepared for those actions that would or may cause a significant impact to the environment. And what that involves is your preferred action set against a series of alternatives, including a no-action alternative, but other ways of doing the project. And then faced with that process, gathering that information, sharing it with the public as well as with the decision makers, a decision maker then would have a more factual and scientific basis in order to decide whether to approve the project and what mitigation conditions to require for it. And that's the Green Chemistry Initiative. So think about a product. You have a product, and within the product there are a series of components, paints, solvents, surfactants, components that make up this chemical product that all of us use every day. And the question is at what point does a regulator get involved in the composition of that product? And the problem, of course, is that all of the trade secret information, all the intellectual capital to making a consumer product resides within a company, not within the public domain. And so regulators get there too late. They get to the place where a product might be toxic or not after the product's already in the marketplace. And that product not only ends up with exposure pathways to the user, but also at the end of life ends up in hazardous waste landfills or municipal landfills, creating environmental impacts. So the Green Chemistry Initiative said, let's have a sort of NEPA process. What we're going to do is we're going to pick out priority chemicals and priority products. And this is the first of the bills. AB is a California lingo for Assembly Bill. Assembly Bill 1879, identify and prioritize chemicals of concern in consumer products and create a methodology for analyzing their alternatives. And then a companion bill, SB 509, which is to create a database collecting all the information about the various toxics that may exist.